analysis. If you take any bus, a bus is a point where you connect more than one element. It is simply like a node in the electrical circuit. So node is an terminal where you connect two or more elements. It is called a node. Similarly, in a power system, it is called a bus. A bus is a terminal where you connect two or more power system elements. Okay. If you take a bus, every bus has one number. Let us call it is the ith bus. It is the ith bus. Okay. So for a bus, what are the elements that you can possibly connect? You can connect one source, you can connect one generator, you can connect one load, you can connect a transmission line or more transmission lines. Understand? So at a bus, you can connect some voltage control equipment. Okay. So these are the various possibilities for a bus. So let us assume at this bus one generator is connected, one load is connected, and say two transmission lines are connected. Okay. Now SGI that is equals to PGI plus JQGI. SGI is the complex power generated at the ith bus. See here, not only single generator, it can be combination of number of parallel generators. So SGI denotes complex power generated by the ith bus, where PGI is the real power generated, QGI is the reactive power generated. Understand? Now let us call this load that is connected as SDI. SDI. So what is SDI? Can anybody tell what is SDI? Complex power demanded. Complex power demand or at ith bus. So where SDI we can write it as PDI, real power demanded at the ith bus, QDI, reactive power demanded at the ith bus. So this is the generated value and this is the demand value. Now if you subtract one from other, you are going to get SI. SI is equals to SGI minus SDI. That is equals to what you are going to get here. SI will become PI plus JQI, that is equals to PGI minus PDI plus J into QGI minus QDI. Understand? So SI denotes, so first this is the total generation, total load demand. Whatever left out, it is the complex power injected into the transmission system by the ith bus. So SI is equals to, are able to follow? This is SGI, this is SDI, and the left out this is SI. Understand? So these notations are very, very important. Okay. So SGI is the complex power generated at the ith bus. SDI is the complex power demanded at the ith bus, whereas SI is the complex power injected into the transmission system by the ith bus. Understand? Now, at the ith bus, you also have the voltage magnitude at the ith bus is given by mod VI. The load angle of the ith bus is given by delta I. Voltage angle or load angle at ith bus. Understand? Okay. So at every bus, if there are four parameters. At every bus, there are four parameters whose knowledge is required. What are those four parameters? Mod Vi, voltage magnitude of the bus, ith bus. Delta I, voltage angle of the bus. Pi, real power injected at the ith bus. Qi, reactive power injected at the ith bus. Understand? So if you know all these four values, then your load flow problem is solved. At each and every bus, if you are in a position to tell the voltage magnitude, the voltage angle, the real power injected and the reactive power injected, then your load flow problem is solved. Understand? After conducting load flow analysis, we get the following data. At each and every bus, we know what? We know mod Vi, delta I, Pi, and Qi. Understand? And we can also calculate line flows and transmission losses. How that we will see. Okay. Let us consider a 3-bus system. SD1, SD3 and SD2. Okay. Now, once you solve load flow problem, what you have the information of, let the bus 1, this is bus 1, this is bus 1, bus 2 and bus 3. Okay. So if you, after solving load flow problem, what you have the data of, you know the mod V1 and the delta 1 value. You know mod V2 and delta 2 value. You know mod V3 and delta 3 value. So once you know voltage and load angles at every bus, since you can easily find out this, say Y12, Y23, Y13. So you can easily calculate the power that is transferred from here to here. What is the complex power that is flowing from here to here? It is very easy. It is nothing but V1 into, what is the current? V1 minus V2 into Y12 whole conjugate. Okay, the complex power supplied at bus 1 will be equal to, let us call this one as S1, that is equals to V1 into I1 conjugate. So S1 will become V1 into, what is I1? I1 is nothing but this voltage V1 minus V2 divided by impedance, transfer impedance. Since we know admittance, it is multiplied by admittance into whole conjugate. So with this you are going to get S1. Similarly, you can get S2 value, that is V2 into V2 minus V1 into Y12 whole conjugate. So now you got the power transferred from bus 1 to bus 2, power transferred from bus 2 to bus 1. Both cannot be same. Now, if you want to calculate losses in the line, say S1 value is coming as 1.2 plus J 0.3, so many per unit. S2 value will definitely, it will come as minus 1.1 minus J 0.2, because both values cannot be positive. If one value is positive, the other should be negative. So if you add these two, what you're going to get? 0.1 plus J 0.1. This is the losses that is occurring in the transmission. Understand? Likewise, once you calculate load flow problem, once you know all these two values at each and every bus, you can calculate how much power is flowing from one bus to other bus, and you can also calculate transmission losses. Understand? So why we need to carry load flow analysis? So load flow analysis is carried out is carried out to know for the power system planning and extension. For power system planning and extension. So what is the meaning of this point? See, every day the power system is growing like anything. That means some new housing complex will come, some new shops will come, new mall will come, new industry will come. So we have to assess whether the existing infrastructure, that means our existing generation system, existing transmission system, existing distribution system, can it meet the additional load that is coming? Okay, if it is not able to meet the additional load, then what are the other modifications that we have to do to the existing system? Should we lay one line, two lines? Should we build a new substation? Okay, so all this planning and extension we can do once we get the data from the load flow analysis. Okay, so it helps, it gives the basic data to analyze the status of the present power system, and it will help for the future planning and future extension jobs. Okay, since once we do load flow analysis, we are getting voltage magnitude at each and every bus. We can check whether all the buses are maintaining their proper voltage profile or not, whether all the voltage values for the existing loads, whether they are within the plus or minus 6% of their nominal values. If there is any one bus that is having low voltage problem, one bus having over voltage problem, we can do the necessary corrective actions. So to check the voltage profile of all the buses. The third one is, it will also help us for the economic operation of alternators and economic load schedule. Economic load schedule. So for the existing power system network, for the existing loads, how best we can reduce the cost of generation. That also some basic overview we can get from the load flow analysis. Okay, load flow analysis is a steady state analysis. Load flow analysis is a steady state analysis. So while carrying out load flow analysis, we assume that all the loads are fixed, all the loads are constant, all the loads are fixed. Why? Because this load flow problem is a steady state analysis, but our power system loads are continuously fluctuating. Every millisecond or every decisecond, the load is continuously fluctuating. But if you make the load continuously fluctuating, then you cannot solve the load flow problem. So what we assume while solving load flow problem, we assume that the loads are constant, loads are not changing. Because load flow problem cannot be solved by human beings. We have to put the data in the supercomputer, and supercomputer will take 1 or 2 minutes to solve the load flow problem. So for this period of 1 or 2 minutes which the supercomputer takes to solve the load flow problem, we assume the loads are constant, because we cannot feed the real-time loads to the supercomputer. Even if we feed the real-time loads, real-time continuously changing loads, the solution will not converge. It will become very complex algorithm. So what we do, we assume during load flow analysis, our loads are fixed for a short duration of time, that is 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, that is the one point. Next point is, load flow analysis gives initial conditions or boundary conditions. It gives initial or boundary conditions for carrying transient analysis, like stability analysis and fault analysis. So fault analysis is a transient analysis, stability analysis is a transient analysis. So for carrying out this transient analysis, the initial conditions are obtained from the load flow analysis. The initial or the boundary conditions are obtained from the load flow analysis. Understand? So the next is assumptions made during load flow analysis. We assume that the power system is completely balanced while we are carrying out load flow analysis. Okay, power system is completely balanced and since the power system is completely balanced, we do the analysis between any one phase and a neutral. That is, usually we carry out between the reference phase, that is R phase, and a neutral. Okay. So power system is completely, we assume that the power system is completely balanced, and we carry out the analysis between the reference phase and neutral. Okay. The second is generators are modeled as complex power sources. That means generators are modeled as a AC sources which will supply both reactive and real power. Understand? And loads are modeled as complex power demanding loads. Loads are modeled as complex power demanding loads, that we have already seen in the first image. Okay. And all parameters are assumed, are treated as are assumed to be lumped parameters. All parameters are assumed to be lumped parameters. The last assumption is the transmission lines are modeled as nominal pi networks. The transmission lines are modeled as nominal pi networks. So these are the assumptions that we use during the load flow analysis. Okay. Next, classification of buses. Classification of buses. So we know that at each and every bus we need to, there are 4 quantities. What are those? Real power injected at the ith bus, reactive power injected at the ith bus, voltage magnitude, and voltage angle. Understand? Out of these 4 quantities, before carrying out load flow analysis, before LFA, before load flow analysis, out of these 4 quantities, at each and every bus we know 2 quantities. At each and every bus we know 2 quantities, and we don't know 2 quantities. We don't know 2 quantities. Depending upon the quantities which we know and which we don't know, the buses are classified as, 3 types. The buses are classified into 3 categories. Okay. So at a bus, if you are in a position to tell, if you know the data of real power injected at the bus and reactive power injected at the bus, and if you don't know the voltage magnitude of the bus and voltage angle of the bus, then that bus is called a load bus or PQ bus. Load bus or PQ bus. Understand? If at a bus, if you are in a position to tell the real power injected at the bus and reactive power injected at the bus, and you don't have the information about the voltage magnitude and voltage angle, then such buses are called load buses or PQ buses. Understand? The next type of buses are generator bus, PV bus, or voltage controlled bus. So here in these buses, you are in a position to tell the voltage magnitude and real power injected at the bus. If you have the information, if you have the details about the voltage magnitude and real power injected at the bus, whereas if you don't know the load angle or the voltage angle and reactive power injected at the bus, then such type of buses are called generator buses or PV buses or voltage controlled buses. Understand? Next, there is only one slack bus. In any power system network, there will be only one slack bus or one reference bus. Okay. So there must be one. There must be one and only one slack bus in the power system network. If you know the information about the voltage magnitude and voltage angle at a bus, if you don't know how much real power injected and reactive power injected at a bus, such a bus is called slack bus. Such a bus is called slack bus. So why you are writing 1? Usually the numbering starts from slack bus. You give number 1 to the slack bus. That's why I'm directly writing voltage value as 1.0 per unit. Delta 1 is 0 radians. So at a slack bus, the voltage magnitude is 1 per unit. The voltage angle is 0 radians. Here you don't know what is the real and reactive power injected at this bus. So such a bus is called a slack bus, swing bus, or reference bus. Why it is called reference bus? The load angle of this bus is taken as 0, which is the reference for all other voltage angles. Here the voltage angle of slack bus is taken as 0, which is the reference for voltage angles of the all other buses. Understand?